I know New Milford's going to lose over $4 million as far as the car taxes are concerned. We heard today that New Haven's going to lose $13 million. Do you know statewide the total amount that the municipalities are going to lose because of the car tax provision?
The total levy of car taxes in the state of Connecticut is approximately $460 million.
And do you know how much they're going to lose by segregating the levels that you have put in here?
We estimate that 90 to 95% of that the underlying property will be exempt. It remains to be seen what the local property taxes may or may not be cut by that entire amount. That's a local decision.
So you don't have any idea at this point the estimated amount that this is going to cost the municipalities?
Well, it depends on the decisions that are made by local governments. Local governments may elect to respond to the change in their grand list in any number of ways. They could change how they spend money. They could cut spending in order to allow that tax cut to go forward. I appreciate that that's an enormous challenge. They could shift that tax burden onto other property taxpayers, like a revaluation, or they could do some combination of the two. It really remains to be seen how each local government would elect to implement a budget based on the car tax exemption we've proposed.
When you were proposing the car tax exemption, there were certain factors that were already in place. If we were to use the factors that were in place, do you have an idea of what it would cost statewide total to all the municipalities?
Were we to make them whole for their car tax levy, it would cost, as I said, about $450 million.
I guess I'm not speaking clearly enough. With the new car tax, or maybe I'm just not understanding what you're saying, with the new car tax provision you have, I know that New Milford's going to lose 4.2, New Haven's going to lose 13. Saying that they're not going to then increase taxes or cut services. Based upon that parameter, did you have an estimate as to what it was going to cost?
Yes. No, the $450 million, more or less. Were the state, for instance, to just pay all those car taxes for people instead of making them exempt, it would cost us $450 million. I think that's the sum total of the $4 million in New Milford and whatever in New Haven would be about $450 million statewide.
Now, since you stated that the state was saving about $23 million because people wouldn't be using the car tax deduction no longer because they weren't paying the car taxes, how is that good fiscal management if you're saying that it's going to cost this number and we're only getting back that number?
But at the same time, it's saving Connecticut property taxpayers $450 million. I mean, it may be a loss to the local governments, but it certainly is a gain to the families who don't pay the car tax. I understand what you're saying, but it's not as though the taxpayers are not part of this equation. The taxpayers are very, very much a part of this equation, and that's why we proposed it, so that the taxpayers don't have to pay that money. It's true that the local governments then are faced with some challenging decisions to make. I can't deny that. But that those are the fact of the $20 million is a byproduct of that. But we certainly did not create a car tax exemption in order to generate $21 million in reduced property tax credits on the income tax. That's doesn't make any sense.
Do you think it makes sense to look at this in a vacuum, whereas you're saying that the taxpayers are going to be saving some money, but in actuality either their property taxes are going to go up or their services are going to go down? So isn't it in one sense that it appears as if we're presenting that we're putting money in one pocket, but we're actually taking the money out of the other pocket because we don't operate in a vacuum?
I don't think that we have considered this in a vacuum. We have looked in detail at the impact of this on multiple communities, and we believe that when looked at in the context of individual local budgetary decisions, this is in most communities, or if not all communities, going to result in favorable tax savings to most Connecticut residents. that this, even were they to shift taxes to other taxpayers, it would favor residents of most communities because the savings from the car taxes that they pay would more than offset any potential increases if the local government elected to pass them back through the mill rate.
So it's your presentation that there's going to be a net gain to those taxpayers, taking into account the possibility of the other taxes being raised, services being reduced, and no longer having that car tax deduction?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.